Hi there, welcome back to Mom Talk. My name is Madison Harris, and I will be your host to talk about all things gruesome and gritty of motherhood. It's not always sunshine and rainbows, sometimes you're elbow deep in baby shit, and I'm here to get you through it. Last week's episode was controversial parenting, and I left out one specific topic because I wanted to make an entire episode over screen time. I wanted to be able to provide you guys with all the research that I've done so that you know why I have the opinions that I do on screen time so that you don't think I'm totally insane. I grew up outside, eating dirt, playing in the grass, adventuring as much as I could with the biggest imagination in the world, and I truly believe it's because I didn't have an iPad before I was 10 years old. I had a little flip phone that I carried with me everywhere, but it was solely for safety. I didn't have any kind of games on it, and I definitely wasn't glued to it the way that all of us are to our phones now. Growing up, I was always outside. We were riding bikes, we were walking, we were literally doing anything and everything, and we did not come home until the streetlights came on. I want her to experience life and be a kid before she has to grow up and be an adult because it's not fun. We all wanted to do it, and now that we're here, we don't want it so bad anymore. If I could go back, there is so much time where I would just put the phone down, put the iPad down, spend it with my friends, spend it with my family, actually live and be in the moment. I'm doing a lot better now about correcting that, but it's solely because I had my daughter and I just don't want her to grow up and only want to be on the phone or on a screen and not want to spend time with the people that are around her. I'm going to start off with the research side of things. According to the American Academy of Pediatrics, excessive screen time in early childhood can negatively impact a child's development, specifically in areas of language, social skills, and cognitive abilities. On the AAP's website, there's more information on how it can negatively affect the attention span, short-term memory, and problem-solving skills of a child if excessively used under 18 months of life. It states that children under the age of 18 months of life should receive absolutely no screen time until age 2, and once they turn 2, they can have about 1 hour of screen time per day. This hour after they are finally exposed to screen time should be nothing but educational programming like Sesame Street, Miss Rachel, or Blippi. However, it's really important to understand that children this age do not learn from a screen. They learn so much better from a human. They can learn while watching these videos, but you have to be there helping incorporate what they're saying on the video into real life. Obviously, whenever I did all of my research, I shared everything with my husband. I wanted him to know that I wasn't a complete, total crazy person. But with that being said, he wanted to come on this episode and give his take on screen time. Here is my husband, Austin Harris.
As a parent, I believe we need to protect the minds of our children, and that really starts with limiting their screen time. For infants, toddlers, and young kids, screens disrupt their natural development, and their brains are really wired to learn through real-world interaction by exploring and playing and bonding with people, not just passively watching a screen. Screen time really delays language development, and it shortens their attention spans, and it limits their ability to process emotions and social cues. And there's plenty of research to back that up. It also robs them of the essential physical activity that they need, increasing their risk of obesity and even sleep problems. Really think we're just giving them a break or keeping them busy, but it's really just handing over their formative years to a machine. And I want my kids to build creativity, curiosity, and connection, not just dependency on digital devices. And childhood only happens once, and I really want it to be real and not virtual. Now that I've provided you with some of my research, we will get into the very first Reddit story, and hopefully you'll understand my side of things a little better. Am I being unnecessarily strict about screen time? Our son is 2 years, 8 months old. He's very energetic, loves being independent, and makes associations very quickly. We do or see something once, and he will remember it months later. He likes routines, and he's very stubborn and throws a tantrum if he doesn't get what he wants or expects. I'm not against screen time, but trying to reserve it for mostly emergencies, like when the toddler or us are sick, travel, urgent calls, or when he needs to be quiet, etc. I thought my husband and I were on the same page about this based on theoretical discussions before having kids and when he was a baby, until I found out about a year ago that his definition of emergency is a little more loose than mine. If toddler was putting up even a slight resistance during diaper change, he would get a YouTube video on the phone into his hand. He doesn't want to get dressed? Have Miss Rachel. By now it's a fixed part of his bedtime routine while I'm getting him changed. When I found out, we had some arguments, basically me saying I didn't like it being a part of routines. But the thing is, husband's bedtime routine was a lot quicker than my screen-free attempts.
possibly because it calms him down, but maybe also because my toddler had learned to expect the videos. Anyway, I ended up caving and accepting it for bedtime because I got tired of spending hours every night putting him to bed when my husband wasn't there to do bedtime. And yes, it made bedtime easier and quicker. Apparently, by accepting bedtime, I should now accept all screen time my husband does. Yesterday, when we went grocery shopping, I asked if it would be okay for me to wait in the car as I needed to calm down from handling an exhausting toddler meltdown earlier. My husband said sure, chill. After a few minutes, I felt better and went to join them. What do I find? Toddler sitting in the trolley with a phone in hand. I tried to stay calm and explain to my husband that I was not a fan. Usually our toddler really enjoys shopping. Sure, it's not efficient, but it's fine. He said he was being annoying and wanting mommy and he wanted to give me a break instead of calling for me to come. Then this morning, toddler wakes at 5 a.m. with a poopy diaper, a regular occurrence unfortunately, and refuses to go back to sleep. I explained to him that if he wants to get up and play, we need to change his diaper first. He says, no, 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 but I started to change him. And then toddler asked for Miss Rachel. He has a full-blown meltdown when I said no. I told my husband about it, saying that this is the issue with using screens too much. He claims that he has meltdowns for other reasons too, and that we don't have to make our lives harder by refusing him a few minutes of screen time to make diaper changes doable, especially at 5 a.m. So, am I being too strict or even hypocritical by using screens sometimes, but giving my husband a hard time for using them too much? Should I embrace screens and make my life easier, or will it make everything harder because he'll expect them more and more? Where should we, as a team, set the boundaries? Here's the thing. The AAP says that a 2-year-old can have 1 hour of screen time per day if it's educational television. However, I truly believe that there is a certain time or way that you should go about that screen time, and this is not the way to do it. If you give him a screen during diaper changes or any time that he's throwing a tantrum, he's going to expect it every time he gets his butt changed or every time that he throws a tantrum. And the longer this goes on, the worse that it's going to get. Screen time, if used correctly, can be so educational and so beneficial for families. However, I do not believe that this is either. He's essentially giving him a distraction so that he will stop doing what he's doing in that moment, like cause a scene in the store or let him change his diaper, because it's an easy fix. However, in parenting, you cannot go about everything as an easy fix, especially when they're this young and with an iPad. I do not think that she's being unnecessarily strict. I completely understand where she's coming from. Like, it would be a completely different thing if it was for an hour a day he was sitting in front of the TV watching Miss Rachel while the dad does something else. But instead, it's an easy fix and just, hey, stop crying, here's the phone. Let's get into this next story. Your jaw is going to hit the floor. Keep me honest. Am I overreacting? I have a 25-month-old who is very active, always wants to play and run around and explore. Good-natured and sweet, but always a handful. My husband handles this by putting him in front of the TV. I have many problems with this. For starters, the sheer amount of time is excessive. My husband will easily spend 2 hours watching TV with him while he listens to a podcast on his phone. The other problem is, it increases the pressure that I feel like I'm always under to have engaging, non-TV time with our kid. And given that I have a very demanding full-time job that is more challenging than my husband's, I'm the primary earner, I am constantly depleted and exhausted. Not to mention, I take every single bedtime and night waking. Baby wakes up a lot, I suspect due to too much TV. He's often waking up chattering, mind racing about Peppa Pig. So I'm utterly depleted. Husband argues that kid doesn't want him to do bedtime, so it's easier for me to do it. We're speaking to a professional about this. I've tried speaking to my husband. Our pediatrician has reiterated many times that we should do no more than 1 hour of screen time per day. Husband keeps brushing it off or quoting irrelevant examples that aren't even true. Example, so-and-so do a lot of screen time when I've spoken to them, and what they regard as a lot is half an hour a few days a week. I'm so worn out. It's causing me to become resentful and mean, which then makes me the bad guy. Please help. I'm fuming. Like, genuinely fuming. Why is it so hard to spend quality time with your children? Even if you go to work all day, every day, do you not miss them all day? Do you not want to come home and just play with your kid or just spend time with your child? It says that they both work, but the wife seems to be bringing home all the money and taking care of most of the financial things. And in my perspective, the person who's bringing home pretty much all of the money should have to do the least at home. This is not me saying they have to get out of all household chores. I'm just saying I don't think that they should have to come home and do dishes or a list of chores as soon as they get off work. I can only imagine having to do all of the night wake ups and then still have to get up and go work all day long, come home, and it's just the same thing over and over and over. I would be exhausted. I would feel depleted. I would be so defeated if I was in her situation. And on top of that, he doesn't care at all. Like, he's still gonna sit down in front of the TV, do something unengaging with his kid instead of bonding. He's just gonna turn it on, distract him, and do his own thing. In my opinion, this is gonna take some serious marriage counseling or divorce. Because to me, there is no getting through to this man if a pediatrician is telling him to his face, hey, a child needs no more than 1 hour of screen time per day, and he's still doing it against doctor and his wife's wishes. That is literally ridiculous. And if you're angry now, you're about to get even angrier. Here's the last story. Devices are destroying my kids and my marriage. Help. Wife and I are not on the same page regarding media usage, and it's cutting into our marriage. I feel like my 3 kids, 11, 9, and 6, are suffering, and I feel unheard, not listened to, and increasingly prone to extreme measures regarding their devices. We need help from the community. Some background. I'm a millennial who grew up in essentially an electronic-free environment for most of my childhood. We did not have a TV, but we did have a Nintendo that was heavily restricted. Mostly what I played were Legos, crap laying around, etc. Later, 8th grade, I picked up on PCs and eventually earned a CS degree. I have used technology to a great effect in my career. I do not want to hinder my kids in this sense. We're also both gamers and active users of our PCs, though I've really dropped off in the last year or so. There are occasions where I will have spent several hours on my PC working on some long-term game, but that might be once every 2 weeks. I'm also an adult and I have other hobbies and activities. We've also been together for 25 years, so it isn't like we don't know how to communicate effectively. All the more frustrating here as we aren't communicating effectively. We have 3 children with a complicating twist. Our oldest is autistic and with severe cognitive disability. Because of his issues, he was essentially grown up with media at all times. He cannot do anything without having his media or iPad anymore. It's mostly stuff like Roblox, Minecraft, and watching YouTube videos of these things. His younger siblings see this. So, the issue. My wife, stay-at-home mom who works part-time with her family's business, allows all of our kids essentially unrestricted time on their iPads. They mostly play it on the Roblox platform with some Minecraft mixed in. Their use of these devices have practically become ritualistic to the point where my wife claims that any change in their routine ruins her mood/evening and prevents her from getting them to school. However, they will use these devices the minute they get up, and it causes all sorts of getting ready issues for school, as you can imagine. In other words, they literally lose sleep to get up early to use those things before school. When the kids come home, it's the same thing. iPad from the minute they get home until the minute they go to bed. No outside, no exercise. My wife said the kids need it to blow off steam from school. However, my middle son, a perfectly capable human being, is now basically an indoor kid. He won't go outside, he's gaining weight, has a muffin top at age 9, and we aren't a fat family genetically. Whenever I talk about my son sitting there all day with his iPad, grinding away on blocks fruits and eating snacks, she tells me not to shame him and that he's just having fun like any other kid. And of course, in the end, I have nothing in common with these Roblox games. My son comes to me and talks about all of his grinding, all the stuff he's gotten onto, Skibbity Toilet Tower Defense, all his little blocks fruits, and my eyes just glaze over. I try to explain that there's no end to these games, and no matter what he achieves there, they will never be an end or a specific achievement, but I don't want to be too discouraging to his feelings. I'm at my wit's end. I'm failing as a parent. I know what I need to do, but it isn't in my willpower, and that's in the way. It's my wife. At times, she'll recognize the issue, but she has no willpower to deal with the whining and screaming that accompany the loss of any devices. I can't even get her to agree to have the kids do chores before using devices. When I take the devices away, I'm the bad guy, and I'm ruining her day while I'm off working and not having to deal with it. That was a lot for me to swallow, and I'm not even in this situation. I feel so bad because the man is obviously, he just wants to find a solution somehow, some way, and they're really struggling to communicate that right now. And I know, it really sucks when you want to just get through to your partner, you just don't know how to communicate it, or maybe they just aren't understanding what you're saying. However, this is a detrimental issue. Like, if this continues, these kids could have serious issues with making friends or just issues in any social gathering at all. I've noticed personally a lot of my anxiety comes from social media or just being on my phone a lot, really. Which, whenever I was younger, I was playing video games a lot. Don't get me wrong, I played my fair share of Roblox and Minecraft. However, it was always in moderation and it wasn't for days and days at a time. I also played sports and I did other things outside, so it balanced each other out. It seems here that these kids are getting no balance. They wake up, screen time, school. They come home, screen time, bed. Then they wake up and they do it all over again. I say this all the time as a joke, but I quite literally believe that our phones and all of everything that we do every day on our phones is melting our brains. And so I feel so bad for all of these children that are just addicted to these screens because they don't know. They don't know any better. It's the parents' job to limit and restrict what they can do and how long they're doing it so that they don't literally rot their brain. Maybe rotting is a stretch, but still, screen time from a young age, as seen in research, can truly affect a child's development. It can affect their attention span, their memory, and how they develop and form relationships with friends and family. I will admit, Autumn has had some screen time, but this was also before I did all of this extensive research before this episode. And I'm gonna be honest, I'm really glad that I did because I learned a lot and I'm able to share it with you guys, and I'm really happy about that. I hope that you learned something new and that maybe you can shape your routine just a little bit differently now. I sure will be, and like I said, I am so glad that I did this and that I was able to educate myself and hopefully some of you. Thank you so much for listening to my third episode. I hope to see you guys next week. Bye!